Onegaishimasu. Welcome back to the Goju Ryu Karate Center. We've very happy to see that we've made a couple of subscribers happy with the last video on application of cipher. Today we're going to do the very, very basic Seiyunchin type bunkai. And when I say basic and fundamental, I mean essentially just that. So for my students, you will know that this will be the stepping stone from this to what we would expect in the dojo in terms of our gradings. So the application will be very, very simple. There are a lot of them because Seiyunchin kata, as general rule, is quite a long kata. And I'm going to try and cover all the basic bunkai, and what we will find is that there are strong parallels to, let's say, IOGKF and Seiyunchin, and most of the major Goju schools have a general theme of what is the acceptable kind of bunkai in these regards. And when I say basic, I mean very, very simple. So please, for my friends who are doing applied karate, you're not going to find stuff here that you are going to go, wow, this is the stuff we're looking for. This is very elementary. It's just to give a basic foothold into the kata and into its interpretation. But, teaser alert, we will be releasing a collaboration soon on some movements, and we will hopefully produce something in the next 2 weeks, and hopefully that goes up. And for all my friends doing applied karate, I hope this works for you because it'll be aimed at you. Thank you very much. Hi. So, if we break the kata down, there are a lot of movements that are repeated, and what we want to do is we actually want to make these movements as simple as possible to understand. So, I'm going to break 1, 2, 3. That is the first section on its own. Second movement, 1, 2, 3. Okay, today helping me is Sensei Zoe as uke once again. Hey, shimasu. So, and Sensei Zoe is going to attempt to grab. I'm going to intercept, slide my hands under, pull, and then knee kick. We'll do it from the other angle. Go this side, please. All right, so as she comes in, 1, that opening position, 2, 3, and 4. Right? You may also work on the idea that, come back. You may also work on the idea that the person has already grabbed on. And so you are going to try and pull and break free. I personally find this application very, very difficult to pull off. And I'm going to have a short break, a short tangent on this particular problem. So if a person grabs on with 2 hands, they are either going to headbutt or knee kick. So I have to be vigilant of those 2 things. So I can move forward, and this hand, these hands that come down could stop the knee. This hand coming forward could strike. And immediately I am in a much better position from self-defense, from a practical point of view. It doesn't make any sense to try and wrestle with the person. If they're holding on to that, they can't hit you. But I can. So, hey. I like the idea that this movement, the settling movement, is an interception, grabbing on, breaking free, knee kick. Okay? So this is bunkai number 1. Bunkai number 2, 1, 2, and 3. Now it's important to learn this bunkai on its own at first because it helps you understand why the movement is done a particular way. Many different schools have different ways. Some schools have a big movement. Some schools have a downward pressing movement. Many schools have different ways of doing this little movement. And we are looking at that. So our basic application for this is going to be left back kamae, punch chudan, round and block, and then working around, pulling, knife hand. Now, right hand back. Okay, change of angle for you. So as the attack comes, moving 45, blocking, round. What's important here is as this hand comes back, it does this. So as this hand comes back, it does this, and it comes back to the chamber this way. So in the kata, the hand is this way because you're actually holding your opponent this way. So intercept, turn around to grab on the arm, slide down, get to that wrist, and pull. Nukite. All right, and you can do the whole lot in shikodachi if you wish. 1, 2, 3. An alternative, 1, 2, 3. This hand, some schools focus seiken, some schools focus on the pinky knuckle. Uejo Sensei says, the ashi barai, some schools have it, some schools don't have it. Some schools have suryash and uriyash movement. Okay, so left hand to grab. 1, bring your hand up, break free, oopsie. Grabbing on with the left hand. We're grabbing onto our fist, we're cranking, moving forward, and hitting. All right? If you grab right to left, 1, you can use this hand to help break free, and this will give you a better view. So grabbing on, lift, use this hand to help break free. Slide in, 1, 2. Okay, the ashi barai, if you wish to build that in, 1, 2, 3. And attack maybe a different, more vital area. Okay, the idea is that this is a breaking out technique and then a redirecting. This hand can be used as a strike or as a block or as a break or as a clear. And this hand is being used as an attack either with the pinky knuckle or with the front 2 knuckles. If I want to unsettle a person, then the ashi barai is a critical part of disrupting their balance. Okay? So, basic idea, somebody is grabbing onto your hand, you're grabbing on, 1, 2, 3. Next application, 1, 2. As the hand comes back, vertical fist, elbow strike usually parallel to the floor. And the general rule of thumb is that one hand is either doing a pull or as a block. Other hand is doing an attack. All right, so I like the idea from Higohana Sensei where it is a punch, block, and strike. If you wish to be on the inside left side attack, please. 1, 2. Definitely not a problem. Right? It is very basic and very simple that works like this. Another idea is that if there is an attack and punch, block, behind the head, pull, elbow. And this fits in more with the mechanical movement of the kata. So you're reaching behind the head, pulling an elbow strike. Moving on into the kata. So we've gotten here, we've changed direction 45 degrees, and I'm going to come towards the camera. So you have this circular blocking motion. The first one tends to be very much downward, and then 1, 2. So the first time we're coming across a double blocking motion or a block on retreat, that seems to be part of a line of movements, and this will become a theme that will come through a few more times in some of our kata. And a lot of people work on different ideas of how to utilize that second technique. All right, so it could be that you're repositioning yourself. It could be that you are changing the direction, but still maintaining a forward direction, because the kata is just a simulation for you to work within. So let's work on the first technique. So left hand chest punch, please. Block, hit. It's as simple as that. This hand We often don't need two hands to block. If the person is that big, I remember a sensei of mine telling me, the person is too strong. Now you use two hands. You do not have to try and force the block. You just move, and their attack is missing. Doesn't make any sense that you have to match their strength. What is important is that if I'm using two hands, one hand will more than likely be some kind of block, another hand will be some kind of strike. So in this case, blocking with this hand, striking with this hand. So moving, blocking, striking, tetsu. All right? So again, 1, 2, 3. She moves back, makes space, comes forward, and strike. Now we've worked on it in this way to try and keep it in frame as much as possible. We're also working on the idea that it's done in the spirit of cooperation. All the guys who are doing applied karate, this doesn't exist. I know it doesn't exist. I'm with you on that. But it is just a basic idea of trying to explain the reason for the second block in a way that is a safe way to conduct the message in class. And then to build on it to the point where we can do something more pragmatic. After we've done this, we've done it to the left side and the right side, or right side then left side. We step back, 1. So catching, blocking, 1, 2. There are 2 of these techniques with a strong drawing motion on one hand and gedan strike on the other hand. It is also not a question of placing your hands. In the process of getting from one point to the next, you have to bring your hands through. Now, there is an inside option and there is an outside option. And again, you have to go back to your individual school and see what your sensei teaches. There are a few schools that teach one inside or one outside, one inside. And it relates directly to the bunkai that they like to teach. For the last while, my focus has been on the outside with these techniques. So, Jodanzuki, 1, 2, 3, 4. The most basic and easiest interpretation of this technique. Block to the outside, cover, you can pull, strike to the groin. We're going to do a left side attack. I'm going to do it to the inside, and it is still identical. So I move 1, 2, 3. When I go to the inside, I will change my hand position more this way. When I'm on the outside, I might have to change my hand position slightly this way. All right? Easiest explanation for this single move. As we move on with the kata, 1, 2, 3. One more time. Round, center, sweep, shift, uraken. Okay, so this can be done on its own, and then the uraken can be an afterthought or a follow-through. So our most common application is right side back, single punch, second punch, third punch, block, uraken. And there I'm concentrating on covering my body and the uraken afterwards. Should I wish to unbalance my opponent, like I did earlier in the bunkai sequence, I can bring in the sweep. So we do it again, right side punch, right to right, left to left, right to right, move in, sweep, uraken. If you're lucky enough to hook and snare your opponent, that will be good too, because it gives you that semblance of control. Okay? Cross step, turn, double block. on its own as a single bunkai with nothing to do with the technique that comes before or the technique that comes after it. We're changing direction, and we're simply using one hand as a block and one hand as a strike. And there are essentially just two basic applications we can apply. So the first application is against chest punch. So back, chest punch, I block chest, strike groin. All right, so that is the first application. Second application, in line with the kata seishoshin, we block maigiri, so right leg back, maigiri comes, block, and as the person comes down, we're using the outside portion of the fist, the thumb, to hit into the solar plexus or into the throat. Okay, so two applications. The easier and the more common one is against the chest punch, so blocking and concentrating on striking with the hammer fist to the groin. After that, stepping up, uppercut, uraken, block. And again, afterwards is a second block. Very basic idea on what one can do from this is the idea, right leg back, kamae, she punches chest, I move inside, grab on, punch, uraken, strike. Please note that this hand was grabbing on. So I'm going to do it from the left side so you can see what my defensive hand does. Block, grab on, step in, tummy, chin, throat, groin. This hand pulls back here. Hopefully we haven't squashed the mic too much. Okay? If there is the opportunity for a second attack, so this side we're going again. 1, 2, 3, 4. She punches. I can block down. And she punch again. 6. I can move around and do a strike to the groin. So thinking that this might be a short block, similar to Geksai kata, and then a second attack, block, strike. All right, a little bit more advanced, but just trying to link everything on that particular line in the kata. Okay. Thereafter, elbow strike, elbow strike. Traditionally, this is done as a breaking out technique from behind. So a person is grabbing on and you're lifting, raising, and elbow striking. Okay, we'll discuss the negative side of it afterwards because you'll be able to see what happens. So behind. Right, we have to be careful of the mic. So hands are coming around. So normally the hands may be a bit higher, but the idea is that your shoulders are being pulled and pinned in. What you want to do is you want to be able to lift and bring a hand to the inside, elbow. There's that front elbow lifting, and I'm going to use my buttocks to press and elbow strike. All right, so again, she grabs on. I lift and bring my hand through, grab on, turn so you can see in the camera, use my buttocks to press, making space, and then the elbow strike. Okay, so you watch that and you go, nice, my friend's doing applied karate again. The moment the person is behind me, if I do this, they let go, they move to rear naked choke, or some kind of control or choking technique around the neck. Holding, pressing my hip down. It is problematic. The idea is that you never want to leave somebody behind you. In reality, probably pump the person a few times. So there is a good practical component to this in terms of self-defense. And the first one is trying to raise and control that arm, holding onto it. The second one is that usually one elbow is not enough, so you would pump that elbow into the person until they do let go, until they want to let go because they want to change position. Okay? When I say let go, I mean one hand is coming off because they're either trying to block or they're trying to hit you back because they're trying to change the dynamic of the fight. So with that in mind, please understand what I've just shown is the most elementary, basic application, and some of it, in all honesty, is not as sane as it could be. All right, so that's just the most basic understanding of this technique and the most common application. An alternative, which I prefer, would be the oddity of being attacked with some kind of big bear hug or a double-handed technique, somebody trying to close the gap and to hold onto you, to grab onto you. One hand pulling, other hand striking upward and into the chest. I prefer this as an application in my own personal capacity. I like the idea of seeing my opponent intercepting, hitting with an elbow, hitting forward and up, and it lends itself to the next technique at the end of the kata. So after the second set of elbow strikes, when you move forward doing this, I like the idea of 1, 2, hitting with this hand. All right, so pull, change the dynamic here, elbow, hit, uraken, hit, hit. I do like this quite a lot. So if we go through the sequence of the kata, the next movement is just this. The most basic application for this technique is very much like Cypher, but from a frontal attack. My opponent is punching, blocking, and hitting. Block down, circular motion, take the hand, clear, and hit. When you hit, the idea in the kata is that powerful hitting motion. This in itself is an attack on the arm, uraken into the face. So that is the most basic application for that singular movement. Finally, we get to the end of the kata and a large number of application on this singular technique. Probably the most common application is also the most similar to the kata kururumfa, and that is utilizing the wing-like movement. And in a previous video, I mentioned that the common theme here is this dropping and opening kind of technique. And so you will see, so an attack to the inside once again, block, nukite. If I use the same principle to the outside, so again, right side attack, chest level, 1, nukite. Okay, that's a basic idea. The second idea is if the person grabs onto your jacket, so you're getting this double-handed grab, the hands coming up, dropping into the center, and you're breaking by adding your body weight with the elbows and the wedging technique. Hopefully you can clear their hand, and then some kind of attack to the throat or to the face. So this would be a second option for application. In all honesty, I don't think that this is a practical idea, because if somebody grabs on, chances are they're going to headbutt, knee. They're not going to stand there and wait for you to clear their arms off of your body, unless the person is just basically trying to restrain you and hold you up against the wall like a school bully. An alternative idea that I like and I prefer would be one hand coming down and pressing, creating a change in their body. Second hand attacking. If you have a strong influence from sensei Chinen, grabbing the hair, maybe changing direction by twisting and pulling, bringing your opponent down. She's still holding on to me, but from here I can carry on fighting. Okay? So this is the ideas within the kata. It's a basic set of ideas, a basic set of concepts, and we've tried to keep it as simple as possible. And the idea is that you teach these basic ideas first, and then you build it into longer sequence, maybe a linear sequence, and you understand the embusen then in the kata, and then over time you can deviate from there and build more applied sequences from the actual applications that you've got, and that you have to have a base level, a foundation for the kata Seiyunchin, and this will hopefully create some base, some foundation, and that you have to escalate. For my friends who do applied karate is very much about, in my opinion, taking everything beyond that base, because the base is there with a whole bunch of safety constructs for an easy conveyance of the concept. But once we get beyond that concept, we start working towards newer concepts. And obviously, the more we start working on the applied chain of thought, we then create a new set of foundations that have ideas such as movement, evasion, seizing, redirecting on every movement, because we're constantly taking into account that we have to be vigilant of being hit, because the hits are not these nice paused, stopped movements that allow for nice, easy, clear-cut videos, but tend to be for far more aggressive attacks, randomized attacks. Nothing is necessarily straight. Chances are it's hooks or swings, and if a person is grabbing, there is a knee, there is a headbutt, there is some kind of attack that follows it. So, hopefully in our collaborative work coming up in the next couple of weeks, you will see something along these lines. Thank you very much. Arigato gozaimasu. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and we hope to see more and more comments that we can help out with. Thank you. Sayonara.